Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm Esteban Leguizamón and I will be presenting my jointly work with Pablo Gluzmann. In this paper, we propose a different methodology to assess the robustness of the relation between real exchange rate undervaluation and economic growth. Uh, I will introduce our work with a little motivation, trying to highlight some important previous papers, uh, and I will try to explain why the methodology we proposed it's useful to have a deeper understanding of economic relations. I will show you how we implemented it in this particular case, and of course, our main results. Okay, so let me start or begin by showing that there exists a body of literature that shows an empirical correlation between high real exchange rate, or what's called real exchange rate undervaluation, and economic growth. This literature argues that there exists causality, that is, that real exchange rate undervaluation generates higher output rates, okay? And the main empirical strategy this literature has is to estimate or compute a misalignment index, a real exchange rate misalignment index, and to use this index as an exogenous variable in growth equations. Their main hypothesis is that they will find, and they find a positive and statistically significant coefficient for real exchange rate undervaluation. Okay, of course, uh, there are some authors that do not agree with this point of view. They argue that previous studies have important omitted variables that, when taken into consideration, the relation is not robust. Okay, these variables are savings, internal savings, technological capabilities, and income distribution. Okay, and of course, there exists another group of papers that are theoretical ones, and they argue that the channels or mechanisms that are meant to link real exchange rate undervaluation to economic growth are not correctly specified, okay? So what's our contribution to this literature? Uh, we propose a different strategy to assess the robustness of the relation, and we think it has at least two important strengths, okay? It's very useful when facing unbalanced panels, and it helps to shed some light when multiple channels or mechanisms are proposed by the literature to explain the relation, okay? So I will first show you how we compute our misalignment index. It's quite standard in the literature, and then I will proceed with our methodology, okay? The index we use, the misalignment index we use, it's known as the three-step undervaluation index. I think it was introduced by Roderick in 2008, okay? Real exchange rate, it's defined as the quotient between exchange rate and PVP conversion factors. And well, we need an index that's comparable across countries and time periods. So what it's done is we run a regression on real exchange rate, on per capita GDP, and time dummies. This is meant to correct for the Balassa-Samuelson effect, or take into consideration the Balassa-Samuelson effect. And the residuals from this equation are the misalignment index, okay? So what we did, we started by making a important and long survey of the literature, and we collected 39 variables that can potentially affect either economic growth or real exchange rate, okay? And then we estimated two main equations. You are seeing the first one here. We regressed per capita GDP growth in what we call the three main covariates that are always fixed in the regressions we estimated. So in the results, you will see these covariates are always taken into consideration, and other three covariates, okay, here you see them as x1, x2, and x3, that are drawn from the pool of the remaining 36 covariates that are left after fixing the three main ones, okay? The three main covariates are lag per capita GDP, functioning as a standard conversion term, real exchange rate undervaluation, the misalignment index I showed you, and stock of human capital an economy has, okay? And we will try to focus on how the estimated coefficient for undervaluation behaves when we change the covariates set, okay? So we will try, we had estimated 6,645 regressions. We tried to estimate 7,140, but due to data availability, we were not able. And then we proceed to define what we call sister regressions. For each of these 6,645 regressions, there exists a sister regression that does not include the three extra covariates, say x1, x2, and x3, but it's estimated in the same sample each of the first regressions was estimated. Why we do this? Okay, due to the fact that not all control variables are available for all countries and periods, okay, we have an unbalanced panel, and each group of control variables defines a different sample. So we now estimate the sister regressions using the same samples, but only with the main covariates. And we will focus, okay, this is a sister regression, what you see here. You see that doesn't include the extra covariates, and we will focus on how the coefficient of real exchange rate undervaluation changes when it's estimated in the same samples but with no additional covariates, okay? So what data we used? Penn Word Table 9.0, word development indicators, and some variables were taken from others' websites, okay? So I will show you our results. What you can see here on your on the x-axis is the number of observations in each regression, okay? On the y-axis is the estimated coefficient for real exchange rate undervaluation. The right part of the graph you are seeing is assumed for those regressions that include more than 800 observations. And the most important thing I want to show you here is that the coefficient tends to be more stable when the number of observations in the regression grows, and it points to the full sample coefficient. That is the red point you see in both graphs, okay? So, as a consequence, the estimated t-statistic for all these 6,645 coefficients, okay, that, as you can see, when we have more than 800 observations are always positive, is a growing function. It's a function that grows with the number of observations in the regression. In fact, in all the regressions that have at least 1,200 observations, the estimated coefficient was always positive and statistically significant, okay? I will summarize these results and show you the sister regression result, that is when changing the sample but fixing only the three main covariates. First, we estimated 6,045 regressions. The misalignment index was statistically significant and positive in 48% of the regressions, but in 1,400 models that had more than 800 observations, the coefficient was positive and statistically significant in 93% of them, okay? Then, for the sister regression results, as you can see, both in the graph for the estimated coefficients and the graph for the betas, the t-statistics, we have the same pattern than in the previous graphs, okay? As you can see here, the results show that the estimated coefficients in the sister regressions point to the full sample coefficient, and the t-statistic associated with the sister regressions is a function that grows with the number of observations included in the regression. Just to conclude, the loss of significance seems associated with sample problems. It happens in regressions with a small number of observations, and it does not seem associated with the inclusion of any control variable in particular. Estimated this way, the coefficient for real exchange rate undervaluation converges to a positive value, the full sample value, as the number of observations increases. Consequently, the associated t-statistic grows with the number of observations, and sister regression results reinforce our idea that there exists a robust relation. Thank you, everyone, and of course, questions are welcome.